I don't even really know where to start. At least you didn't have to be there. Or maybe you were there, like I was, and if you were there, I mean, I sincerely apologize. The weather all weekend, or at least Friday and Saturday, was just terrible. Practically a tropical storm. Couldn't really do much outside. And then, you know, it's nicer for the game, and the sun actually starts coming out during the game, but you're not really even paying attention to that because you're kind of distracted by how horribly the game is going. So, really just an overall, not a great time in Jacksonville. I don't think I would go back. I've been to Jacksonville 2 times. They have lost 9-6, and the previous time I was there was the playoff game after the drought was broken, and the final score of that game was 10-3. So I've been there twice, and they haven't scored a touchdown. I actually went back and did some research. The Bills have not scored a touchdown since Sean McDermott was hired. The Bills have failed to score a touchdown in 6 road games, and I have been at 4 of them. How is that? It just doesn't even seem possible. I've been to 8 road games since McDermott became the head coach. And they've been pretty good since McDermott became the head coach. Outside of, you know, Josh's rookie year, where, you know, he got hurt in the middle of it, and they ended up going, what, like 6-10 or something like that. But I've been to 8 road games, and I only went to 1 game that year, and they lost. It was to Indianapolis. They scored 5. I've seen them score 5 points. 3, 6, 5, you know, I've seen them score all types of single-digit numbers, excuse me. But I've been to, like I said, 8 road games since McDermott became head coach, and they're 2-6 in those road games. The only wins I've seen were 2019 in Nashville. They won 14-7, and then 2020 I went to Miami, and they won 31-28. That was actually a lot of fun, especially because the pandemic was ongoing, and you know, knew that I wouldn't really get a chance to go to too many games, or at least that was likely. So I decided to take advantage of that opportunity. I went, and I had 0 regrets about it. I mean, at this point, that's neither here nor there. You know, well, what to say about Sunday, guys? Who could have seen that coming? I would self-report myself to Old Takes Exposed. Based on my video last week, I think I predicted them to win like 37-20 or something like that. And, you know, 9-6 against Jacksonville. Like, one of the least talented teams on defense, a team that's forced 2 turnovers all year, and the Bills go in there and throw 2 interceptions and fumble once. 3 turnovers against a team that's forced 2 all year. They just, did they get outplayed? Why did the Jags look like the steel curtain on defense? Like, they certainly didn't look like world beaters on offense. It's not like they went in there and just had this incredible game. You know, they scored 9 points. They kicked 3 field goals. For some reason, the Bills, even though they outgained them like 300 yards to like 200, they couldn't score points, couldn't kick field goals, couldn't score touchdowns. I mean, the Bills scored on the first 2 drives down. They kicked the 2 field goals. One got backed up by a penalty in there somewhere. And, you know, Josh did a nice job of bringing them back in to field goal range. They get the field goal. It's, you know, it's 6-6. I think after like 2 drives here, and we're just like, okay, well, the Bills have moved the ball down the field. I have the drive chart up. They had, you know, 12 plays, 48 yards, and then 12 plays, 48 yards. That's really strange. And they end up kicking a field goal at the end of both of them. So, you know, it's 6-3 there. Or they went up 6-3, right? And then Jacksonville makes it 6-6. And then the Bills, the rest of their possessions, they get first downs. Like, they got first downs on every possession. They never went 3 and out. But somehow, some way, they just never scored again. There were penalties involved. They had like 12 penalties for 118 yards, which is entirely uncharacteristic of them. You know, there were a ton of personal foul penalties, some unsportsmanlike, some roughing the passer, things like that. Like, just, I mean, you knew from the beginning it was about to be a total ref show. I should have known, and it was the first drive, I believe, the first Jacksonville drive, where they called this personal foul. It might have even been the first play. They call this personal foul on, it ends up being on Jacksonville, but they call it on the Bills. They announce it on the Bills. They're like, personal foul, defense, you know, 15-yard penalty, first down. We're like, oh, okay, well, I don't understand that. That sucks. And then he gets back on the microphone, and he's like, correction, it's on the offense. I'm like, oh, all right, that's weird. And then it happens again. Like, the Bills force the 4th down, and they call a personal foul on the offense. And then he comes back like 30 seconds later, and he's like, actually, it's on the defense. Like, the punt teams are already on the field. And he's like, oh, no, never mind. It's on defense. First down, Jags. And we're like, oh no. Oh, no. It's like, ugh. and again, I've said this before, I am on the side of penalties should be called penalties, okay? You know, taunting is a hot topic around the league right now, especially after like the Monday Night Football game with the Bears and the Steelers. It has been a hot topic. But like penalties, if they are penalties, they deserve to be called. That's why the rules are in place. But there's a difference between officiating games and then just like scanning for penalties. And I think that in certain cases, I know that this crew the Bills were stuck with for the Jacksonville game is famous for calling more penalties. Maybe that's what they do. They are scanning for penalties rather than officiating the game. I think you guys understand what I'm trying to say there. I don't really know how to explain it any better. Anyway, I want to revisit a quote that I referenced last week that Josh Allen said that I said I liked, and I still do like, but you know, there's an amendment there. Okay? Josh said that they're not trying to be the best team in the league every week. I get that. They're just trying to be the best team on the field. Totally. Yes, absolutely. But when the other team is 1-6, that doesn't mean like play like the better 1-6 team. You are just far more talented. You're better coached. This is just a situation where you should just go in and leave no doubt about it. All right? Like, don't play like the better like I said, the better 1-6 team. Just play like the better team that you are. It should be that simple. Like it's the NFL. These things happen. The Bills went through this rut kind of on offense last year in, you know, October. It might have even stretched into early November, where they were like 16 points against Tennessee, 17 against Kansas City, 18 against the Jets, who they play this week, where they kicked 6 field goals, even though they outgained them like 420 to like 190 or something like that. It was like, it was a frustrating month for sure. But then they come out against Seattle and it's like 44 points. And then they have, you know, with the exception of like they struggle a little bit against Pittsburgh here or there, LA maybe a little bit against the Chargers there. But for the most part, they beat the brakes off of everybody. So I think that they are capable of doing that again, especially with the schedule that they have. But, you know, now that you've laid this egg against Jacksonville, like I am hesitant to necessarily trust you in any game. You know, you see the Jets coming up, and then the Colts and the Saints and the Patriots. So like right there, you're thinking like, well, you know, the 3 of those games are at home, or a couple of those games are at home. The Jets aren't that good of an opponent. I mean, you're thinking 3-1 at worst, right? But you know, and I still am. Honestly, I still am. It's just kind of. It just leaves you with this uncomfortable feeling, the way the Bills played in the first half against Miami, and the way that I don't necessarily believe in the carrying over, but it kind of did. You know, the Bills had a really nice second half against Miami, but they come out the same way they did against Miami this week against Jacksonville. A hot button topic has been this cover 2 shell or something, this cover 2 that you know, the defenses are playing against Allen to, you know, prevent deep passes, I guess. Prevent deep intermediate passes and just make him take things underneath. And it's happening to Patrick Mahomes, too. It's kind of weird to watch them both go through it simultaneously because they're both known for stretching the field and everything like that, but they have really struggled this season with taking stuff that's underneath. I just don't really... I don't love that it's happening, obviously. And Andy Reid is struggling with this, so it's not really, I guess, surprising that like Brian Daboll might struggle with this. It's just, is your plan to just throw bombs all day? Like it's like, oh, we're gonna get deep posts no matter what because that's what we do. And then it's like, oh well, we can't get any deep posts, so we don't know what to do. Like there's other ways to get Stephon Diggs and Emmanuel Sanders the ball. I mean, I think they had 2 combined catches in the first half, and they were both to Diggs. And then they finally started going to them in the second half, and they were moving the football, but then Allen throws a bad turnover in field goal range, a bad interception in field goal range. He stretches a play out on 3rd and 12 and throws another interception that leads to the game-winning field goal for Jacksonville. They have like a 3rd and 2 in deep field goal range, and he is, you know, trying to hang on for the first down when he takes it himself and ends up fumbling. You know, it's just nothing fun happened. What was fun? Name something fun that happened. Like the most fun play I can think of is like a 3rd and 22 that they completed to Emmanuel Sanders for a first down. And then Diggs had like a nice long one, I believe, on the last drive for like 28 yards. One of the last drives, but it ended up, not mattering all that much. Anyway, to get back to like the cover 2 point, or at least, I guess the offensive line has been a hot topic of conversation as well. So I kind of want to transition into this. The Chiefs in the Super Bowl last year obviously struggled to block the Bucs. That was because of injuries, etc. And maybe just, it could have been scheming and whatnot as well. But what I think teams should focus on after that, sorry, I'm struggling like how to word this, is like preventing that from happening. The Bills went out and they drafted 2 defensive linemen. Maybe like other teams saw that as well, and they're like, we need to do that because we can get to Patrick Mahomes. There it is. There's the blueprint. But what they should have done, instead of doubling down on their linemen, their offensive linemen, and drafting new defensive linemen, is plan for that. What's the best way of saying it? Just like prevent that from happening. Go after offensive linemen. And I know that Feliciano didn't play and Cody Ford was forced in the lineup. And Cody Ford's taken a beating from fans on Twitter and on the radio and everything alike. And maybe deservedly so. I think that the offensive line as a whole played very poorly. I don't think Darrell Williams played very well. I don't think Deion Dawkins played very well. I think Ike Butker is replaceable at the left guard position. And, Cody Ford. Here's a weird thing. Here's the weirdest thing I'll say about that. Is that it's weird that if the Bills knew Feliciano was going to IR, the trade deadline was last week as well. So they were just like, okay, we'll play Cody Ford, who they gave all summer to win the job. They gave him the starting job. And then after like one half against Pittsburgh, they were like, well, you've got to come out. We can't play you there anymore. We have to shuffle something or move something. And then they were like, well, try Spencer Brown here and Darrell Williams at right guard. So why didn't they just try to do something? Overall, like, that doesn't necessarily mean, like plays can be made against the blitz, Quarterbacks make plays against pressure. $250 million in Josh Allen has to be better than that. Okay? Like, there's blame to go all around. I'm not blaming the defense for really anything. The offense is going to take the brunt of this, and deservedly so. It's just, you can't believe it. You look at that and you're just like, it's as free of a win as you get. And then you got to eat your words. There's nothing free, apparently, in the NFL. I've gone on a couple tangents here, so I apologize. I do want to talk about the Jets just a little bit. I don't want to talk about the Jets because I feel like home field is blown. The Patriots are becoming a concern. I feel like they're trending upwards. They're a couple plays away from like, what are they, 5-4 now? They're a couple plays away from like 7-2. And it's, they're only a half game back now. Technically, they're 1 game back in the loss column. You still play them twice. So there's big games coming up. And I feel like I said, I feel like home field is gone. I feel like the division is a little bit more of a question than it was even as early as last week, because you think you're getting the 6-2, you think you're beating the Jets and getting the 7-2. But now that you've lost to Jacksonville, as a fan, you can't help but wonder what it means for really the rest of the games and the future performances. The Jets, they're the perfect opportunity for the offense to get back on track. They've allowed 130 points over their last 3 games. That's 43 points a game. Granted, they're 1-2 in those games. Zach Wilson was injured, and they've gone to Mike White now, and they've averaged almost 500 yards of total offense over the last 2 games. Granted, Josh Johnson was in there on Thursday Night Football against Indianapolis. A lot of garbage time there. They kind of came back a little bit, made it a little bit interesting, but ultimately ended up losing. Mike White led a nice first drive or 2, though, certainly for the Jets, threw a touchdown pass to Elijah Moore. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying that Mike White is going to beat the Bills. I know that he beat the Bengals. I think the Bills are better on defense. I think the Bills are running through some inconsistencies in offense. So I'm going to pick the Bills to win. I think the score will be a little bit lower until I see the Bills break out for like 35 again. I'm going to pick the Bills to beat the Jets 24-13. 24-13 Bills over Jets. Guys, hit me up on Twitter. My Twitter handle and YouTube username are the same. I hope you enjoy your weekend. And as always, above all else, go Bills.